Now, I normally don't do this, but I want to take a moment to talk about another YouTuber. I'm talking specifically James Rolfe AVGN. Now, he was recently attacked by a woman by the name of Ashley Lynch, who wrote an article, "Bustin' Makes Boys Feel Sad: Why Ghostbusters is So Hated." Now, her point was to point out how a lot of men really hated it just because there were women in it. Which is true. I mean, most of the backlash against it is just pure sexism. However, I take exception to that being said of James Rolfe, because I don't see any reason to believe that James Rolfe is sexist, or that his desire to not see the movie or review it was sexist. Now, in it, she really detailed how little she actually knows of the man himself. Now, she says he calmly explains himself surrounded by his toys that he's refusing to see the new Ghostbusters film. Well, actually, he was surrounded by movies. And then spends the next 6 minutes talking all about all the reasons why a movie he hasn't seen is bad. It comes off with all the maturity of a 6-year-old who refuses to eat their dinner because they're afraid they might not like it. So, I mean, right off the bat, even though it's not really an argument, she's already contradicted herself. It calmly explains, but comes off as the maturity of a 6-year-old. Well, which is it? And later on, she says it's foot stamping, refusing to see the movie. But you just said it was calm. So, but let's put that aside. That's really more of a nitpicking kind of thing. Now, James Rolfe did express why he didn't want to see it. And some of his criticisms, you really can't claim that about. One, he said the special effects look bad, which you could see from the trailer. And he said, yes, from the trailer, you could see the special effects were bad. 2, the jokes were corny, which you could also see from the trailer. So those two valid points about not wanting to see a movie, which I myself, I saw the trailer for Red Dawn, the new one, and said, screw it. Or do I just hate Americans? Actually, I do. Okay, that's a bad point. Now, she said, I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a media critic of any kind essentially stamp their feet and refuse to watch a movie. Well, you see, James Rolfe really isn't a media critic. He's actually a media creator. It's not really his primary thing to, critique or criticize them. He's done a lot of that. But considering that's not his thing, that's not what he does, if he chooses not to, then he chooses not to. I'm sure there were movies in the past that he's also, didn't want to do videos for AVGN. I assume that him not wanting to watch this one is significant enough because of all the controversy surrounding the film, particularly that of sexism. So he does have to address it, and the fact that he is a Ghostbusters fan. So he does have to say something in this situation. Now, she goes, with this level of vitriolic campaign against the reboots of RoboCop, Predator, and Total Recall, there simply weren't any. Well, that is true, but let's also take something else into consideration. There is a great deal of sexism, but you have to link this to James Rolfe. Why is he supposedly sexist? Because all these other people were sexist about it. So you have to draw the line from one to the other, show how it's connected. I said there's a great deal of backlash against the new Ghostbusters because it was all women. But she's yet to prove that James Rolfe didn't want to see it or view it for that reason. Now, he gave reasons which were completely valid and which could be determined without watching the film. And it's very important to point out that James Rolfe said the movie could be very good, and he's totally wrong in what he said. He's already saying he knows he could be wrong. So that's a little bit different from the way that she's trying to portray it. And I believe he did have his criticisms of RoboCop, Predator, and Total Recall, but he wasn't part of any kind of huge outrage. Now, she says, even James Rolfe completely contradicts his false outrage in an earlier video where he did with YouTube personality Nostalgia Critic. They come to the conclusion that the Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is okay because it's not the final word in the franchise, and one more variation is a good thing. Yes, but I would also like to point out the difference between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters. The new Ninja Turtles didn't have the amount of, how should we say, suckage that the new Ghostbusters it had. And it wouldn't be the last word on the franchise for the Ninja Turtles, considering how dynamic it's actually been. Whereas with Ghostbusters, there is the prime first two movies, and all like the little cartoons and stuff like that are not really the same thing. And I would also actually argue that a lot of there have been bad Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies in the past. So the third movie was actually pretty bad. So in that regards, it hasn't really changed. So the variation to get away from the one that was previous was bad would be a good thing. This is not the same as the variation in the one now, where the franchise hadn't turned bad. So this particular criticism here is not logically consistent with what it is that James Rolfe said. And then she proceeds to show how the overwhelming majority, I think it was like 91% of his fans are male. Well, that's really not surprising, as if that's supposed to be an argument. So what? That's a complete non sequitur. Now, a lot of people who watch my videos will be asking why I care about this. You see, the reason is James Rolfe is one of the few decent people that actually exists online. He doesn't go around attacking people. He minds his own business. He didn't even want anything to do with the whole Gamergate BS, and frankly, I see no reason to believe that he's sexist. All of her criticisms depend on the premise that he's sexist, but she's using them as proof he is sexist when they don't apply if the original premise of him being sexist isn't true. So that's why I'm defending him. Because there are a lot of people which she listed in her article itself, Alpha Omega Sin, Milo Yiannopoulos, the guy from Breitbart, who are overtly sexist and made very vitriolic statements and denunciations of the movie, whereas James Rolfe didn't. He gave a clear and concise reason why he didn't want to see it and why he thought it was bad, and then said he could be wrong. Thank you for watching. Want to go ahead, rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media. And if you want, you can head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you could head over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.